Hey, this is just Chase. After recording everything and while editing, I noticed that the picture doesn't turn or whatever, but it's supposed to be a ranking. The clips is just kind of extra, just for fun. So, just a heads up, if it doesn't turn, I don't know if it would turn on YouTube to do full screen, but just trying to get a heads up now. All right, see ya. Enjoy the video. All right, hey everybody. This is gonna be a fun little ranking I decided to do because I was bored. This is, my voice, but I'm Chase, and I'm going to be ranking every skit we've done so far. So I can't wait to see your opinions. I can't wait to rank them. And I did this in like 45 minutes, just looking at all the skits and just putting them in an opinion or whatever from what I remember about them. But I remember quite a bit from most of them because I've watched each one at least like 10 times. But yeah, so let's just get into it. And we're going to start off with the bad ranking. And there's only one in this, and that is Pillow Guy. I mean, it's a running joke that Pillow Guy is the worst skit that has ever been made in the channel. Even though there are some like alright ones or ones, Pillow Guy is the only one I would consider actually bad. And I think it kind of shows because it was released, I think it's even deleted. I didn't see it. But it was released way later because no one liked it, especially Noah because he was the one uploading it. It was short. It had a funny E-Triker part, but aside from that, it was done in like 20 minutes, the recording for it. So I don't know. It was just not a good skit. So it's the only one in bad. Now we're going to move on to the next ranking, which is also bad, but I put it down as not supposed to be good. And there's two in this one, and it is next we're gonna do Hola. Now this is just Noah's kind of like coming home thing, because if you didn't remember or know, Noah went to the circus for like I don't know, like 6 months, and he came back, and as like a little way to show he's back, he did Hola. And it's only 44 seconds long. It's nothing crazy. It's just him meeting up with Bagman again or whatever, because he's back. So it's not supposed to be good. It's just, hey, I'm Noah, I'm back. And then the next one is obviously Adios. Now Adios was almost 3 minutes long. It had some more story to it. It had more dialogue. Once again, not supposed to be good. It was just supposed to be Noah's send-off for the channel for a bit. So yeah, it's nothing crazy, nothing special, but it's definitely better than Hola just because it has more dialogue, more thing. And as a side little fun fact and bonus, it was the first appearance of Bagman, originally called Bagface Man. If you look back at it, I don't know if he was called Bagman or Bagface Man, but some of these titles he's called Bagface Man, but I'm just going to refer to Bagman from now on. I think it was just some confusion or whatever. Next category, we're going to get into some of the more skits or whatever, but we're doing the all right section now. Now, the first one in all right is Frank fucking fixes it. Now, that one is not finished along with the next one, but this one's shorter. It definitely has a funny premise. I wish we could have seen like a full skit of it, but obviously we didn't. So it was really short. I think it ended early. It was funny, but it wasn't finished, it was done. So that's why I put it at the beginning of all right. It wasn't the worst, but it obviously just wasn't the best. And then right after that was Badminton. I think it had some funny moments. I like the slow motion jumps. I like what they did with the camera, making it look like they actually are hitting it or whatever, and trying to like have a little battle. But once again, short, unfinished, didn't get its full potential. So yeah. Then after that, we got Bagman Goes on an Interview. So Bagman Goes on an Interview. It's not bad at all. It's one of our earlier ones. We probably did it in like 10 clips, even less maybe. It was just Bagman going on an interview to get a new job or something. There was some funny like moments. It may even kind of be our first ever fight. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's a fight. But it was like literally like a 3-second punch or whatever. But so not really a fight, But that's what I put that there. It was funny, but it wasn't anything too special. Then the next one, this could vary because I know that Matt and I know that Noah like it. They might put it in the next category, which is good. But me personally, I'm putting We Get It in all right. I didn't like it too much, personally myself. I thought that it was just it kind of, I know that the whole premise is, yeah, we get it, and it's like this douchebaggy guy, but I definitely think it was a little repetitive. It didn't need to be 7 minutes, but it was the first. It had some funny moments. It was the first appearance of Skelly and Skelly Girl or whatever, and not Lieutenant Skelly. Two different characters. Skelly Girl's a different one, just not shown as much. Um, let's see. It was the first appearance of Pillow Guy, if anybody cares about that, and some other random guy. We had no characters. We had no characters. I'll touch on that way later with the character situation, but still. So we're gonna end off all right with that, and we're going into the good category. Now 533, I was originally gonna put that in a different category. You'll see later again, but I looked at it and I think it deserves its own little thing. So 533 was when we were sending off from our apartment that most of our skits started in. So it was just kind of like a little tribute, a little send off, but there were still clips of us walking around, and it cut to different memories we had in the skit. And I thought it was good. It obviously wasn't something too crazy or too special, but it was like a nice little heartwarming thing, sending off a lot of our memories. The next one is going to be DVD callouts. Now, I actually really like this skit. I think that the premise is definitely there. I think it was a hilarious idea, like the killers, oh, I can't kill today, I gotta call out of work or whatever. I think it was a hilarious idea. The only problem is part of the skit was literally just like a blank picture on the phone or whatever of just something, which isn't bad, but it definitely was brought down a little bit because of that, because a lot of our skits, while some do that, I feel like it just takes away from like the skit in general. I like it when it's like actually like someone there holding the phone. That's just like a blank image you're just looking at, and then the rest is just the guy on the phone, which is fine, but the looks of it wasn't the best, but the premise behind it was pretty funny and I did like it. So yeah, and then the ending was pretty goofy too. Let's see, the next one, Story of a Ghost. Now, this one, I feel like Matt or Noah might put it a little higher or whatever, but I personally think it's perfect, not perfect, like pretty good here, maybe ahead of the next one, but I like the next one better. So Story of the Ghost is one of our older ones, and it wasn't a Halloween special or nothing, from my knowledge. It was just a fun little thing. I think that the pacing was good. It was funny. Just another one of those, yeah, it was early on, so we didn't like do too much, but I think it was one of the earlier ones with more editing. It had some music in the background, stuff like that. Its premise of a ghost that is trying to haunt someone, but the door is locked so they can't get in, is such a funny and creative idea. So I think that just give it points, especially for it being an earlier one. But yeah, that's where it's at. Good category, 3 in. The next one, Wacky Day at the Supermarket. This one grown on me a bit. I probably would have put it either before or after We Get It and all right before, but I definitely like it. It gives Bagman more character. It could even be canon to the Triker universe if you really think about it, because some of these things don't connect canon-wise. Maybe they could, but I mean, for the most part, not really. But it could, because Bagman in the Trek universe is a villain, at least at the start. So just because of that alone, Wacky Day at the Supermarket could be canon to Triker. Just a little fun thing. But I think that the jokes are funny. That's like the ending, by the way. But you got Darth Vader, you got other guys or whatever. And I think it's even the first appearance of the Silver Ghost Leon pistol. So that's something funny. But yeah, that's about it for that one. Now, this might be a little controversial because these aren't good, but I think it makes sense. The worst Triker, in my opinion, hear me out, is Triker 8. Triker 8, I probably watched it the least. I mean, I watched it in full with Noah and Matt once, of course, when we watched it together, and then I skipped to some funny parts throughout, maybe like once or twice. I don't know, the beginning was funny, but the ending was, you could clearly tell we were tired. The Super Dur fight was supposed to be completely different. It took like forever to come out, which kind of ruined it a little bit. Let's see, oof, the part where it's dark or whatever, it starts to get dark, like with the Ken Kniff, I believe it was called, or something like that, was clearly just added as because someone thought it'd be funny. I get it, it was funny. It's just it was very misplaced. It really shouldn't have been there. That could have been a skit on its own, to be honest, and it would have been funny. But it was clearly just thrown in just because it was something to be funny or something. I didn't know about it at all. I was just told to say it, and that's it. So I think that should be completely out of the video. And another problem was Triker 8 was supposed to have a decently different story. There's supposed to be a completely different villain, but due to something that came up, he had to be taken. He couldn't make it. So because of that, we had to improvise a lot more of the script, which caused us to get confused, which caused it to just be down in general. So that's for Triker 8. It's still good, but and the length is almost 40 minutes, for all that. So the fight scene was pretty good with between Jaywalker and E-Triker. I love that. That was a great fight scene. And like I said, the opening was pretty funny in general too. Especially with a new E-Triker costume in the fighting game we're going to do one day. So next one after that is Triker 1, which is really good. It's just the second half is kind of meh, and the first half is hilarious. It wasn't supposed to be anything. It's like the Noctur and Toten of our skits, or Triker skits, where it was very early on. It was meant to just be a one-off, funny kind of skit. It wasn't even meant to be like a Triker thing. It was supposed to be like Batman going around doing stupid stuff or whatever. But yeah, it was short. It had barely any story. Some of the lines were messed up, and I always hear them and I hate it, but that's all on me because both lines are from me. But yeah, that's Triker 1 for you. Short and sweet, Noctur and Toten. Next is going to be Triker 3. Now, Triker 3 is actually really good. The first Moo Man fight was peak. It was so good. Honestly, if you look back and see it, out of all our fights, it was really fun to do. Let's see. So there's the Moo Man fight. I think that Lieutenant Skelly Girl first appeared there because of the line that what's his name dropped. Shit, such a bad person. What's his name? Lenny Licker. Because he dropped a line saying he was working for someone. Technically, it's the beginning of a set lore or whatever. Between the Trikers, because the other two didn't have like any lore. It was just him going around doing Batman shit or whatever, like petty Batman crime or whatever. So this is the first that introduced any sort of lore, even if it was just tiny. The Lenny Licker fight really drags it down a lot, even though I think looking back at it, it's hilarious. Like some parts are good, but some parts are horrible. You have the shot where we're clearly like, I'm done, or whatever. But like, we're not like end the clip, but it just lingers for a bit. It's really just that. But I think overall it's a pretty good skit. I don't have a problem. It's not amazing, not great, but whatever. So that's Triker 3. Fun fact about that also, Matt did that in a day, and we were in the background rushing him. Not rushing him, but like we were so excited to see Triker 3 that we were like, get it done. So that probably could have made it so that the skit wasn't as edited as well too. So there's that. Let's see, Triker 4 is the last one and good. I like it. I think it's funny. It has its like moments. Probably one of the more quotable ones too, because Eggalicious gets quoted. There's another one, Tulips, that gets quoted, and maybe some other things gets quoted, but I think it's funny. It has that funny little gag where Super Dur is stealing all the stuff, and he goes out, and then he steals something, and then you see my cat Veda in the background, and then the next thing he steals is Veda. I think that's hilarious. The joke where he's like, again, that was hilarious. I always crack up at that. Super Dur in general was funny. We had the Leon Jacket Triker version, kind of like the future Batman from Dawn of Justice or whatever. So we got to see that look. So it was pretty fun. I liked it in general, but it's not great, which is the next category. So working for snow cones, that's the beginning of the great category. I think it was funny. It's not the actual title. It was like Snow Cones Live is a fraud. It's a gag on the Mr. Beast thing. It came out of nowhere. Noah just uploaded it, and it was definitely worth the watch, you know, because it was made because Matt was taking too long to make Triker 8. I think it took 2 to 3, maybe 2.5 months to make Triker 8. And he even released like something called like, hey guys, I've been busy, but I will be releasing Triker 8 within like the next couple of days or something like that. And then 2 weeks later, it still wasn't out or whatever, and there's a post on it. So yeah, it's kind of a gag for like him not making Triker 8. That's kind of how it was birthed, I believe, at least. But it was funny, and I love the premise behind it. After that, I put Triker 7. Triker 7 is a good one. Me personally, I think that the Moonman fight was definitely a miss. There was some good parts of it, but I feel like Moonman fights are known to be faster paced and all around just peak. And this one could have been better. I think the wind with no mics definitely affected it, because sometimes you can't even hear what the characters are saying, which is not really a part of the Moonman fight, but just the skit in general. Let's see. I think that the first parts are hilarious. The opening scene with the talking is so funny. Oh my gosh. It's like with the podcast. I think that the citizens being asked around questions was hilarious too. At first I thought it drawn on for a little bit too long, but I think now looking back at it, it's definitely just funny. Gibdy in that interview was so funny. It's probably one of the best parts. And then there's Bootspur, who was a great character. Probably, I don't know where he would rank. That'd be a fun ranking next, ranking these Puppetry characters. But Super Dur is a hilarious character. Super Dur, bruh. Bootspur. And the fight scene between him and E-Triker was also just so funny. Honestly, especially when he was looking for him, and then the music cutting in, it was so funny. We also got a good setting of Graffiti Pier before it was actually sunken. Like literally it was sunken like maybe a month after we filmed there. So great setting for it, and definitely a big story point, because you know he was arrested. E-Triker was arrested after that. So that's Triker 7. Definitely a great skit. Definitely loved it. After that, I put the Dead by Daylight skit. Now, obviously different from the Call Out skit. The Dead by Daylight skit was, The Dead by Daylight skit was the one where it was live action. That's what makes it way better. The scene with the radio before it was cut out was so funny. Just them exploring the abandoned warehouse. It was the first introduction of Itchy Ricky, the killer, which was so fun. Obviously, it had all the Dead by Daylight memes, like the pallets or the hooks, and you know, it was obviously a funny little gag. It even was in the Halloween special, like a continuation of it. Let's see. And the setting was so good too, of the abandoned warehouse. We love that so much. So that's that. It was also uploaded really quick, which was nice. I think the next day. And it was overall just a really good skit. The next one I ranked in great is My Strange Addictions. I think that this one is just hilarious because one, it is the first one with Gibby and Frank together. They're an established gay couple in this one, which I think is just so funny. Um, and it's just because Frank is like a more aggressive, grandpa, while Gibby's more passive, and Gibby's being more generous towards you know, Chizzy with his addiction, and Frank is he's trying to accept it, but he's like he doesn't want that to be. He loves his son, but he doesn't love his problem or whatever. So it just kind of creates that drama effect for My Strange Addiction. It was pretty funny. And there's like the Ashley cookies part. There's the sad music. There's like the fact that it's not an addiction, but it's definitely something funny that I have all that stuff or whatever. So that was fun. And it also introduced Dir TV with the commercials, which was so funny. I love the commercials. We'll talk about the box set later or whatever. So that was a really great skit. I love that skit. Hilarious all around. Next, for finishing off with great, is Triker 5. Now, Triker 5 is the one with Brokerine, and man, do I love that skit. Brokerine is my favorite character in all of the Trikerverse. I think I love his voice. I love how goofy he is. He might actually have more quotable lines. So damn broke. Or, you have $1 or whatever. Matt was brave and he went into the 7-Eleven and he asked the guy, hey, could we do a little film skit? And the guy said yes, which is pretty cool. So that was definitely fun. We had a 7-Eleven and a different worker, one of our first different actors, even though, he's just some guy. There's some more lore behind that guy, fun fact, but still. So there was that. And then the fight scene between Brokerine and E-Triker was hilarious too. What else was there? Hold up, I gotta get back. So Triker 5. The Moonman fight in this was also really good. It was a start of listening to music in the skits. The opening was hilarious. Everything about Triker 5 was good. Maybe some things could have been changed, but shit. Triker 5 was really good. It's one of my favorites. Probably even top... Is it top 3? Yeah, it's top 3. No. Yeah, it's top 3. Actually, it's 3. So, yeah, I love Triker 5. Let's see. Next category is honorable mentions. Now, this is, just a section for things that are not quite skits, but they're still, they're still kind of skits or whatever. So the first thing I put is Bullet or the Blade tribute. Now, this is just a tribute for the Triker series, the first 6 episodes. And it's the song The Bullet or the Blade by Sam Drysdale. Great song, my favorite song as of now. Wow, you see E-Triker stuff in the background. It's not a skit, it's just a tribute, so I put it in honorable mentions. The next one is Papa Call skit. Now, this one is not exactly a skit either, because one, we stole every line of dialogue from the Emperor's phone call or whatever, but we just did it in the animation style. But the set was creative, the characters were creative, and it was our voices. So I think it definitely deserves an honorable spot. Then the next two, these I contemplated putting it on the actual thing, but I just put them in honorable mentions. Box set 2 and 1 in that order. So 2, then 1. So 2 I think is a little bit, it's not as good as 1, but it's still really good. It's just like trying to get people to buy the box set of the Time to Serve Justice series, the first 3 and then the next 3. They were hilarious. The pacing was great, but it's more of a commercial for Dir TV than anything else. All right, so the next one, this is the last category, and this is absolute peak. So this stuff, these skits are pretty much perfect. Now, the start of this is Triker 2, Attack of Jaywalker or whatever. And this one, I think the pacing is really good. It introduces some story elements that we didn't consider to be story elements. We thought they were just jokes, but then we turned them into story elements. So let's see. So it had funny jokes. It's our most viewed skit. It has our first introduction of like a real villain, sort of. More like victim, but still. He's let's see. There's some funny moments. It's the introduction of the cat phone. It's let's see, the introduction of, hearing voices in his head of his grandpa, key to the city. It's just a really good skit. Everybody loves Striker too. Not much you can name bad about it. I think it's just perfect. The next one after that is Halloween special. I don't know if it's just because it just came out or something, but I think it's hilarious. I think that the 3 different parts, they all have their own kind of thing. Like the first part is 2 characters, they split up, and then one dies. It's definitely leaning more towards comedy than anything, but with some suspense aspects. I feel like Chizzy in the basement is actually kind of a freaky setting with the lighting and how we worked with it. But obviously the Milky Way choke and a lot of the jokes definitely took it away from it for the horror and stuff aspect. So that it's not a horror part. I think it's all comedy for the most part. Then the next part is Noah's section. I don't know if I said it, but Matt's section was the last one. Now, Noah's section was hilarious because, I think it was funny, but it was also mostly like an action section. I think that the fight scene definitely made most of that part of the skit. It was probably one of our best fight scenes, like in general. Even our superhero ones are not as good as that one. It was long, it had slow motion, it had punching, it had some funny biting scenes where they're on the floor or whatever. Door slams, different environments, It was all around just a really fun skit and fight scene in general. So I did enjoy that. And then finally, the Bloody Schmary one, directed by me. That one was like way more horror focused than anything. I think that you can tell the complete difference between the other ones. I think the really only comedy element in it is when I'm like poking my head down and I just keep going. That one made me chuckle a little bit. But the second knock on the door to the closet before it opens, that one was a little freaky. And honestly, when he turns the light off and lays down, and then you just see him laying for a little bit, and then you see Bloody Schmary, totally not just Gibdy in a wig, because we didn't think about doing, I wasn't confirmed on doing this one until we talked about it for a bit. So for that pause when he's just sitting there and then he jumps up, it does like a cut, and then you hear like a noise. I thought that was a little freaky. So, they all have their own little different elements that made them good, and I just love that. So that was the Halloween special. And then, of course, the grandpas. It introduced Dr. Parks. I was struggling finding a voice that I wanted. I didn't know if I wanted to make him just sound old, like my old guy voice, like, hey, hello, hey, because that's just like my old guy voice, or if I wanted to give him like a unique voice. And I kind of settled with more like just like a stereotypical, like, what like a black guy would say, like if he was older, but not necessarily sounding super old all the time, because if you think about it, Frank sounds pretty old. He sounds like a smoker. Gibdy, I don't know if he sounds old, but he definitely has his unique voice, and I kind of wanted to bring that out there with Parks' voice, and I can't wait to see more of them. But it was definitely a fun one to do with the grandpas. I think that all of them had their own little funny like things, especially Frank. I think Frank in that was just so funny. But yeah, all around Halloween special. Maybe it'll drop later, but as of right now, I loved every part of it. There is nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. And then finally, last but not least, obviously because it's the best, in my opinion, is Striker 6. I mean, where can you begin with Striker 6? Striker 6, perfect pacing, perfect villain, perfect fight scenes. The lore in it was absolute peak. It set up the lore for the next 3 episodes of Striker. It had some funny moments. The Skelly fight was so funny. The opening scene is one of my favorite parts of any skit we did. It was so funny. The costumes even in it were fun. Let's see, the ending was so cool, and like the pan up shot, some of the shots in it were really good. The jokes, I mean, the one-liners at the end were just so fun to listen to. And it, not to mention, it was the first time we really started using like sound effects a lot more. Shout out to Matt for that. But when Green Candle was like thrown, he would like kind of like was about to fall, or whatever. You hear that sound is so funny. It always catches me off guard. The punches was so good. Green Candle beating up Red Guy, and you hear the crunch. It was like, I remember like cringing at hearing that. I think Noah did the same too. When it first dropped, we watched it like 3 times in a row in full, and then we also like watched throughout it. And then when I was going to work, like right after, I was watching all that stuff again and again too. So like, I still watched it. I still watch it today. It's probably my most watched skit we've done. And Triker 6, I think everybody can admit, is the best skit we've ever done. That rhymed. But yeah, that is the ranking of the skits I've done. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. I want to see, I hope Noah or Matt does a ranking too, see how it might differentiate. But that's it. Bye.